there, I'm Tana Bengoa with Amazing Changes, and I am here today to interview actually my own daughter. And I've had many, many, many boys, and she is my only girl. So she's kind of been the light of my life and my pride and joy. And so I thank you, Amaia, so much for coming today and being willing to sit down and share with people a little bit about where you've come from, how some of the struggles that you've had, and how you've gotten through those. And yeah, so I'm just going to open it up to you to kind of share what's on your heart about your life.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of started, I mean, as far as I can remember, it's like I started having issues when I was 13. I started struggling with depression, and I can't quite remember what I was going through at the time, but it definitely like hit me pretty hard, and it took a couple years. It was pretty bad up until I was about 14.
And was that after we moved? So we grew up, that we raised our kids up in a very small community up in the mountains. I homeschooled them for a long time. They were going to public school, but our school up there was like 200 kids, K through 12, right?
Yeah.
So did that happen? I'm trying to remember what age you were when we moved back to the city and you went to a big school. Was it during that? Did that?
Well, I mean, it's all, because it started when I started going to Shiloh, the Bible camp, and I was a volunteer there, and I think I was in 7th grade, and we still lived up in Garden Valley, and I don't know, things just started getting kind of rough, and then we moved to Boise when I was 14.
Okay. So you think you had already started feeling some depression even before we came back?
Yeah, in Garden
down to the
Valley
city?
and stuff. And then when we moved to Boise, I started trying to deal with it a little bit better.
I'm sorry to say that I wasn't even really aware that you were struggling with depression, and I'm sorry that I was not present for you or that, but I think that's a pretty common thing, that kids don't talk to their parents about how they're feeling. And do you remember why you felt like you couldn't talk to me about it?
I don't remember why. It probably has a lot to do with the fact that I'm the youngest and I have 4 older brothers, and I feel like as the youngest child it's always kind of hard to just kind of express yourself. I would always express myself just through my music, and that's all I really needed. I don't really know why I didn't talk to you at the time. A lot of kids, I think, just feel like that's not really a safe space. I know that you're still on your journey, and you were just starting your journey, and you and I have both gotten to a place where it's a lot easier for us to talk to each other. But at the time, I don't think I quite felt comfortable. I just probably didn't feel like you would understand what it was like.
Yeah, I was pretty uptight back then, wasn't I?
Just slightly.
So I've become a little more zen these days, and so the kids now feel like they can actually come and talk to me about things now. So that's a blessing.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you have any idea what caused your depression? Did you feel like that it was a chemical thing, that it was a, just talk to me a little bit about what you went through.
I don't really know the science behind it all. I was never diagnosed, and I was never on any meds or anything, and I'm really glad that I wasn't. But I'm not quite sure. I think it was just a lot of my social life and things that were going on. I was struggling a lot with religion at that time, because I remember you guys took us out of the church when I was 11, but I was still being a volunteer at that Bible camp until I was about 14. So I was still very involved in, Christianity and the church, and I think that I was just really struggling with what I really believed, because I would go and I would work at camp and I would go to our Bible studies, but I wasn't really feeling it anymore. I wasn't feeling that security that I used to, and I felt like I was just kind of floating away, and I was lost as to what I believed.
Yeah, that was a hard transition, wasn't it? Because we kind of went through that period of not really knowing our identity or what we were, what we believed. And I know especially for David, when he came down here and went to Christian school, and he would go and hear that, just like you would at going to camp or whatever, going to your groups, and then come home and be hearing different things from me, and I'm sure it was very confusing for you guys.
People would teach me things up at camp, and we'd be doing like just different group exercises and studies, and they would tell me something and I'd be like, but but my mom was learning something different. My mom was telling me about this, and I would kind of just get shut down, and I didn't really feel like it was a really open place anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I didn't love it, like I
Yeah.
loved being
Yeah.
there, but it just wasn't
Yeah.
working out.
It's always hard. I know. Remember when the boys were on student council and they went on their thing, and I had to write a letter, and I told one of the kids to never stop asking questions or to always question authority. And the teacher that was doing that was so surprised that I would tell my son that. But that is exactly what I wanted you guys to learn, is that we have to ask questions. We have to question authority. We need the answers. We need to dig, and that's what happened in our whole transition there, was realizing that there were things that were being taught that wasn't what it said.
Yeah.
And that wasn't okay to not ask questions about that. We had to ask questions. We had to dig a little deeper and go, well, it actually says this, so what about that, right?
Mhm.
And that didn't go over very well, did it?
Yeah.
So I know that was a confusing time for you, but so kind of where have you come then? So I guess I also want to bring up the fact that you did respond and tell me finally that you were depressed, and that your friend at camp said she thought you ought to get on some antidepressants.
Yeah.
And I told you that, well, I'm an old hippie and I don't like drugs, and let's talk about what you can do proactively to change your thoughts and think about what you're eating. And so is that what you did, and did it work?
Well, I remember after we had that conversation, I still struggled with it for a long time. It's not like anything instantly got better.
Right, of
And
course.
I think at that point I was still in that mindset where I was like, your parents tell you something and you're like, whatever. You don't really quite take it to heart, and I was still kind of in that place where I wasn't getting all of the things that you were getting. And it took a couple years. It definitely did. When I was 15, I had been going to Centennial High School for a couple months, and I just didn't like it, and I realized that I lost all of my creativity. I wasn't writing music anymore. I just wasn't motivated. I was apathetic, and I was just down all the time. I remember I would come home from school, my mom would pick me up, and I wouldn't say a word. It put me in such a bad place. My energy just felt so diluted when I was in school. And after, luckily I have a mom who's super lenient, not necessarily into school either. So I quit going to high school, and since then I just started working on myself. I have just been trying to find more things that I like to do, and it's been a couple years now, but I can definitely say that I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm healthy. And it was just kind of a process. I had to make a decision every day to do something that was going to get me closer to where I wanted to be. And I'm not perfect, but I still try every day to do something, something that's going to brighten my day, that's going to make me happy, that's going to bring out that.
So I think that once I quit trying to teach you guys the things that I was learning, and I just decided to live them, you guys became a little more noticing the difference in my change, weren't you? Which I think did that help at all you towards wanting to adopt some of the ideas and listen more to what I was learning and become more interested in it and make it your own? And so what are some of the things that you've noticed? What are some of those things that you've found that have helped you, that you feel like have given you a better mindset or not be depressed? Or has diet played into that at all, do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot that's played into it. I definitely eat a lot better than I used to, and it gives me a lot of energy, and it helps a lot, but I don't know, a lot of it is just what I tell myself. I'm the type of person, I talk to myself a lot, and I ended up just putting these written letters to myself that I would hang above my bed so that when I woke up I could look at them. And I just had to tell myself, I deserve better than this, and I don't really know how I did it. It kind of just started to happen, but I would just make little decisions I'm gonna get up earlier, or I'm gonna work out today, or I'm gonna play music, I'm gonna write a new song, I'm gonna go for a hike, whatever it is, it was just little things that I had to tell myself.
Well, I have to say to you that I'm sure a lot of people would think I'm a net case for my relaxed manner with my kids and allowing them to discover who they are and follow their own passions. And I think that we all have this amazing creativity within ourselves, and oftentimes through school or through different things, through society, we're kind of pushed into a box and to have to be somebody that we're not. We're not really allowed to follow our passions because people live in fear that if they don't make their kids, you know, do this certain thing or it doesn't look a certain way, that they won't turn out okay, right? Or that they won't make it in society. So to have a 17-year-old who up until just recently were working 4 jobs. I mean 4 jobs, right? She's 17. So, and she's self-taught and she is an amazing musician. So I'm really proud of you, and I'm glad that practicing the law of non-interference and allowing you guys a space to find things out for yourself, it feels like it's working.
Oh, yeah.
Better than when I tried to control everything that you guys did, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is that, like, you raised us so well. You kind of just have to let go and remember that we have good moral fibers. I think that we can figure it out, and it's going good.
Okay, great. So, in closing, do you have a last little couple thoughts or ideas that you want to share with our audience here about how their lives could, if they're struggling, you know, with drugs or depression or not being able to communicate with their parents or whatever it is? You know more than I do what young people, your generation, what they're facing. Do you have a last little word of encouragement to anybody?
I mean, all I can really say is it's really just up to you. The longer that you make excuses about outside circumstances that you can't control, the longer it's just gonna keep, you know, going on. I mean, it's hard to do. I'm not gonna tell you it's easy if you're struggling with depression or anything, but you have to make that decision. And it'll hit you whenever it hits you, hopefully sooner than later, but you do just have to make the decision every day to surround yourself with good people, good food, you know, to be healthy, to get out, to go outside and connect with nature, and to love yourself, and to look in the mirror and love what you're looking at. And it's not necessarily easy, but you just got to keep telling yourself that, you know, you're worth it, because everybody really is, and it's all up to you. It's all in your mind. Right.
Our minds are very powerful, aren't they? And I think I agree with Amaia, you guys, that the number one thing is that we have to love ourselves. And oftentimes, even as adults, we have a hard time with that. We have a lot of negative self-talk that we do, and we have got to learn to treat ourselves with love and kindness and respect, take care of our bodies, put good food in, all of those things. Everything is energy. And the energy of that food that we put in our bodies is what fuels it to be able to not struggle as much with the depression and things like that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And we hope that, number one, if you need to, if you're struggling with depression or some of these things, to find someone that you can talk to. Find an adult or somebody that you can trust, or even another peer, and open up and share what you're going through. Because it's when we hide things, we hide what's going on, we feel so alone, we feel so hopeless, we feel like we're the only one. And we're never the only one. We all really are so much alike, and we all go through these different things from time to time. So please reach out and ask for help if you're hurting. Thank you so much today for watching.